Hey there, Starseeds! Welcome to Beyond the Cosmic Table. We're a group of friends from different cultures, backgrounds, and beliefs. We gather around our table and initiate honest and open conversations on how energy and frequencies influence what we create around us. By expanding awareness, we're able to journey with practical guidance, leading to our highest awareness and conscious living. So, take a seat and join us at our table. In this episode, Ebby, Avani, and Rose discuss their different cultures and how we navigate through life with different beliefs and limiting beliefs. What are we passing on through generations in the name of traditions and cultural rituals?
Hello, everybody. Okay, so I had a thought recently because of everything we've learned and everything we believe in and the philosophy of how everything is energy. I've been looking through some of the things going on TV, and I noticed that there's the Matchmaker show from India. There's Love on the Spectrum, which is people looking for love, that are on the autistic spectrum. And there's all these relationships going on, but I'm noticing a lot of them are bringing in different cultures. And these cultures that are it made me think of my own culture. And I know that growing up, there's a lot of things that my culture, I'm Mexican American, and what my culture does in order to heal each other, in order to bring on limited beliefs, and control ourselves through fear, by saying there was a curse put on you, or saying somebody gave you the evil eye. I was explaining to people, family and stuff, that the reason why our local healer could probably heal many of these things is because it's all about intention. So if I have an egg, for instance, which is a common ritual used among the Latinos, the Mexicans, for healing, if I have an egg and my intention is to heal you with the egg, it's not the fact that it's the egg. It's my intention, which goes back to what we know and believe about our intentions. So it made me think how much of our traditions we're carrying and passing on to our younger generations that have to do with a lot of those things. I don't want to call them superstitions, because it sounds kind of mean to say that, but much of it is superstition. And yet it's there to hold us to traditions in the name of tradition. Do we need those traditions still? Do you guys know where I'm going with this? Do you want to jump in, and what do you think?
Yeah, so we kind of like what you mentioned about the evil eye. We believe in, as Indians, right? We believe in the evil eye. As babies, or when you have a baby, you use that, the black coal that is around. You put a little mark on like a little dot on your baby so that it doesn't get bad vibes coming at you because it's a baby. It's new to the world. It's cute. And, once a baby gets a lot of attention, they kind of think, oh, some evil eye. And it was kind of cute. It's funny that you brought that up because it was kind of cute. Last Saturday, I was dressed up in my Indian clothes, and we had a family get together. And my dad was like, I need to put coal on you because you look really nice today, and I don't want you to get, the evil eye. So it's funny how even though we do that to babies, it still gets carried on as we get older.
Asians, babies are gifted with specific jewelry. So the jade, even, in our beliefs, in our metaphysical world, the jade is such a powerful stone, right? So babies are babies are given bracelets to wear to ward off evil spirits. So even from birth, babies are gifted these crystals and stones, which that has happened since what, beginning of time, right? So yeah, like our culture is to gift the bracelets, the babies, the jade bracelets. They have a 30-day, like when the baby is 30 days old, each one of my kids we had a pig roast for their 30th days being here. So you pray to, their gods at the time, the Buddhas, for protection for the baby. And then as they grow, you gift them with larger bracelets. And we're supposed to wear the jade bracelet throughout, all day, all night, just to protect us from spirits. So there is a lot of, but I get what you're saying, Ebby, to piggyback on you, is a lot of this is just intention of the superstition, right? That we do. And there's a lot of like healing intentions that happen in my mother's culture, that I feel like specific healing that is only to be done by the mother for like certain ailments and things, certain lotions and certain herbs and essential oils that they use. But it's the intention of the mother to heal her child, to wish well for her child. So, I get where the intention is there. So of course, you're sending healing vibes to your child. So yeah, theoretically, those rituals, those culture rituals would work if the intentions are there, right?
Exactly. So like, how do we, now that we've been part of this group and we've been learning and expanding and seeing things from a different point of view, are you ladies who have children, are you passing on the same traditions? What are you passing on and what are you no longer addressing? I know that I've let go of all of them. Even though I wasn't carrying it on before, even in conversations with people who are of the older generation, I don't speak to that. So when they do, I just kind of curve the conversation a little and upgrade the language, the verbiage, the wording, so that we're no longer speaking to it in that traditional sense. Do you guys see that opportunity, or are you still just carrying it on, leading like a dual life?
I filter a lot. So certain things that are not fear-based, I will pass it along as just kind of like a fun ritual or something fun that we can do together as a family. But I never put that they have to do this, or that, this is such a strict rule and there's no flexibility here. For example, on Monday, it was a day where, like, there's some story about a woman who back in the day, there was a fire that happened because she used a stove. On this day, every year, you eat cold food. You're not allowed to use the stove. So do I believe in the fear of anything happened if we use the stove? Absolutely not. I see it as something fun that our family can do as a challenge, to not have to use the stove and just kind of get away with it. And it's actually kind of a fun day where we get to eat cold pizza and peanut butter jelly and cereal.
It may have been a little different for me because I was taught these cultural rituals. I was taught these rituals with fear. If you wear white, someone in our family is going to die. White is a symbol of death. Do not wear white. So I was never allowed to buy anything white. I certainly wasn't allowed to wear any like white accessories like headbands or like even a ponytail holder. Just because part of the death ritual in our Asian culture is wearing a white headband and dressed in all white. So thankfully I didn't need to wear a white wedding dress either. That's another podcast. But basically, like, I was taught with fear, and I knew that when I had my own children, that was not the way I was going to teach. And a lot of the cultural things have stuck with me.
It's funny that you say that, Rose, because there's a lot of cross-cultural things that I can also see within your culture and my culture. The white is one thing where you only wear white at funerals. If you're a woman, once you become a widow and your husband dies, you're supposed to kind of wear white or just very subdued colors and not, those bold, bright colors anymore because you're no longer married. So I can see that. We too also have a ritual on the 6th day that a child is born, where you put a pen and a piece of paper out I think it's overnight, and that's the day that the child's destiny and fortune is supposed to be written. So it kind of goes back to even that spiritual sense that does a child's destiny get written on the 6th day, or does a soul come in with that destiny prior to the 6th day?
Oh, that's so interesting. So yeah, I mean, I kept a lot of the herbal remedies, like the turmeric remedies, and a lot of like the natural healing, because I feel like our cultures, both of our cultures, all of our cultures have a lot of, and I don't know if it's just because, they were deeply rooted third world countries and they only had the land and what natural resources around them to heal, right? So I don't know if it's just been carried through generations of time that, they've really stuck to this natural way of healing. And even now, healthcare over there isn't widespread. It's still a lot of the natural healing methods over there. But not to get off topic or anything, you were speaking about how energy, how everything is energy, and how it translates into cultures. I've seen where, because I was more fear-based taught, my husband was also, ironically enough, fear-based taught with his Mexican culture, Hispanic culture, and his fear really, he doesn't fear much, but what he does fear pretty much physically manifested into visions for him. So, and it derived, from a lot from, culture in the past, things that happened in the past. So I definitely see how the negative energy translates into the way that those of us now, like even me now, I don't, other than the herbal healings, there's really nothing that's going to be handed down culturally to my children.
Can you give us an example of something that John manifested from a negative perspective through culture?
His mother was so like in the Mexican culture, maybe you can help me a little bit, Ebby. In the Mexican culture, there is cucuy, right?
Which is the boogeyman in English.
Exactly. And there were a lot of teenage boy things that John would do. And because he would do these things, the drinking, the drugs, right? His mother would put on him, the cucuy is going to come and get you. The cucuy is just waiting around the corner for you. The devil has taken over you. Not your actions are the reasons for your consequences, but the devil has physically come and taken over you. Like he was told by his mother throughout his teenage, young adult life that his actions were because of the devil. And so because of that, he basically, his fears, everything that went wrong in his life was manifested into a physical fear, and he would have night terrors and night sweats and physically see fear, like this physical devil that his fears manifested into a physical form. So
wow.
There you go. Yeah. And you know what? That's just like I know in New Mexico they have the ditch witch that's there, and she's there to scare children away from the ditches. And in Texas, in the small town my family is from, she's probably in a lot of towns in Texas and Mexico, there's the La Llorona, which translates to the crier. And she roams around crying and all this stuff for her lost children. So it's like these things are passed along. And it's not that I don't believe in the healers of my culture, because I've seen amazing healers do amazing things, and you wonder how did they do this? Here are people who don't have the training that doctors have and everything, and they have this amazing ability to heal and bring comfort to people. I think that's so amazing. They're not looking at it as energy or frequency or any of those things, So I was just curious, especially because the three of us have this very diverse culture. What is it that you guys, Rose just mentioned she doesn't plan to pass on very much. And Avani, you pass on things that you think are more fun-based than anything, But how do you, because you both have families still, that are ingrained in your traditions and in your culture, how does this new age of speaking translate when you connect with your families that are of that culture? Do you get it, Avani?
I do, but at the end of the day, I can politely just not do things. I do feel like I have the freedom to make my own decisions, and not and I'm also strong enough now to be able to push back and say that I don't agree with certain things, and it's okay to not agree with certain things. As these are very ancient civilizations, right? And there was a certain reason why things were done at that time. People weren't educated, obviously, as much as they are now. We don't have a lot of science to back things up. And a lot of things were fear-based because at that time, the population might have needed a little bit more control. It might have been a little bit more unruly. Now we live in a civilized society where we don't need that type of fear and control. And so I really choose the things that I want that aren't going to put my kids in that fearful thought that if they don't do it, something bad is going to happen to them, and that they know that the choices they make affect their reality but it's the energy behind it and the intention behind it, not so much the fear behind it.
Yeah, and I respect my mother's beliefs, and I think that's a good way to remain neutral too, is just respect the other's opinions, respect the other's culture, respect my mother's culture. There are little things like she doesn't want, it's impolite to walk into somebody's house with your shoes off. So you know what? I can take my shoes off from my mom. She prays to, I actually visit her. Well, first of all, I moved 1,000 miles away, and that certainly helped. I just happened to visit her during one of the praying rituals for, I believe it was for her dad. Yeah, it was for her dad. Her dad had passed away, and they pray to the dead on the day of their death. I look at it now, I re-put it into I reframe it. So instead of her praying to her dad on the day of her death, she's just sending goodwill, good intentions, and love, sending more love to her father. So she has to, everybody in the household on the day of the death that you're praying to, and you're lighting incense and you buy fruit, and you have to use all your willpower not to eat the fruit off the praying table, because what's that going to do, right? So I just respect her, and everybody in the household has to light incense and say a prayer in front of her praying station, basically. She's got this huge setup. So I used to always dread this day as a kid and as a teenager, because as old as you can be to hold a stick, hold one of those incense sticks. That's as old as you are that you have to go and say your prayers to your deceased grandpa or grandma or whatever. So I just started, I just reframed it in my mind that I was just sending him love and sending him goodwill and a hello message. You've never met me, but I'm your granddaughter. So I just, I pick and choose my battles with her. As far, and then there comes a point where I have said, Mom, That is your religion. That's your belief. If I don't believe in something, then it's not going to be my reality. You know, I have had to just blatantly stop, tell her that, and then it's, you know, that typically will end the discussion. So that helps.
I think we have a lot of similarities, Rose. We also have a time of the year where we respect the dead. And I kind of like that time in a way that, you know, luckily I was brought up in, you know, in a Hindu religion where we tend to believe in reincarnation. So, you know, we really kind of talk about or just wish their souls, you know, peace, and that they've moved on and that they've moved on to, you know, other lives. And, you know, we kind of just respect that and acknowledge that. And again, kind of what you said, we leave food out every, on those days, like milk and bread, or, you know, a type of bread for them to, like, that if their soul is around, they can, you know, have something to eat. Now, we all know that they're not going to, you know, eat, but it's just like a symbol of respect.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, you know, I think all of us too respect the cultures we come from, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we have to carry that enslaved culture with us forward, right?
I find that I do more teaching with my culture. Every time I have a client who's Mexican or Mexican American, you know, I
Right.
do try and teach, give it a teachable moment to bring it more into a modern way of looking at it. That's more of a 5D way of looking at it. Take advantage of teaching them, you know, some of these philosophies, because otherwise they really hang on to those other things that are fear-based. I mean, for God's sakes, we have the Day of the Dead. So, I mean, that's like a national holiday all in itself for us.
I
But
love that holiday.
I do too, and I do love it because it reminds us to, you know, pause. But now it's a matter of saying, okay, well, there is no dead, you know, there's really no dead. There's multiple dimensions going on at the same time. There's no past life, no future life. Everything is now. So I take advantage of stretching it a little more and a little more. But I do love the opportunity to try and expand people's minds on these things, because it's, I mean, just sticking with the dead, it's kind of like so sharp and done, you know, and nothing is done, you know.
Yeah.
Abby, you would probably find this interesting, but every in most of the Indian culture, I don't want to generalize. When we're born, we get astrology charts. We get
Yeah,
our natal charts,
yeah.
and so growing up, I never, you know, was really into it as much. But now, being more spiritual, I really find that it's cool that I'm part of a culture that embraces it from the beginning.
Yes. Jordan, my nephew, was born, and I don't think he was 2 hours old, and I was already at home putting his chart together because I just could not wait to see what his chart looked like. It still amazes me.
Now, do your cultures do believe in astrology?
I think the Mayans did that, they way back then, but my culture doesn't. It's, you know, theirs is more of a looking to more of a spiritual, religious. They look at the religious sector, which is interesting all in itself too, because then when they start telling me things like, well, I don't believe in astrology, and you know, they happen to be Catholic, I'm like, first of all, this religion wasn't even around back then, and second of all, who found Jesus Christ? Astrologers. If it wasn't for the astrologers, they wouldn't have found him.
You know what I do? What I am excited about is that my children have the ability to choose what they want to carry with them and pass on to theirs.
Yep. I sent Avani a link of a while back where even certain hospitals in the States here are really putting effort to making South Asians and Asians feel comfortable with the high population of Asians and South Asians, to the point where they're having their doctors not wear white. They're painting the patient's rooms a different color than white. They're not bringing the menus to them on white paper. They're bringing in not just one region of Indian food, but I guess 3 regions of food into the hospital cafeteria. I sent you that link, Avani, and I thought it was so cool that, you know, they're can you imagine? I mean, we're younger, but to have taken my grandmother and great grandparents into a hospital that is such a foreign concept of all that, it probably is like going onto an alien spaceship for them, you know, especially if it's like in the now, you know, with everything, technology being what it is. So anything to make a patient feel comfortable and calmer, it's long overdue.
Yeah, and even in medicine, they're integrating a lot of Eastern medicine and herbs along with, you know, the Western medicine. So before we didn't have pills on turmeric. We didn't have ginger pills. We didn't have garlic pills that are used, you know, often for cholesterol. All of that wasn't really well received until recently. So I do appreciate the fact that now medicine is more holistic and more comprehensive, and really looking at how to treat somebody with natural ways before they try to do the medications and the prescription pills.
Yep, yep.
Well, Lee, working at Cancer Center and performing Reiki, you know, so Reiki being a more recognized form of healing, right? John had 2 procedures, almost very similar procedures, done 15 years apart. So when he goes, you know, shortly to the time of, for prior to surgery, he's talking to the doctor and rehabilitation. And John, you know, just mentions, well, it's been 15 years. I'm sure technology has changed immensely in 15 years. And this, you know, the reason my rehab will be quick is because technology has changed so much in 15 years. And the doctor stopped him. He was a Asian Indian doctor, stopped him and said, no, technology really hasn't changed in 15 years. We use the same hardware. It's the same tools that opened your back up in 15 years ago are the same tools now. It's just we understand the body better and the body's ability to heal itself, and the body and the person's ability to believe he can heal himself. That's what our spine doctor said to John. So, I mean, he really was a gem of a doctor to work for. And so, you know, even with his culture, I could totally just see him embracing that and helping his patients embrace that too. Because if the guy you're putting your life and hands in, you know, is telling you you can heal yourself, you're going to be able to recuperate much quicker because of your own body's ability.
That's empowering.
Very empowering to the patient, to John, who, you know, deep cultured Catholic kid raised, for a doctor to tell him it's all in your ability. That was very empowering for him.
This has been great, you guys. I love when we can take these moments and just sit around and talk and see what comes to mind. And I love, you know, for our listening audience, you know, these are things that are not scripted, just coming off the cuff. And hopefully we'll hear from you guys, sending us texts or messages on the site to let us know your own feedback.
Yeah, really looking forward to some of that feedback on, you know, the Facebook page or the Instagram page, so that We can hear some of your experiences, what you're going through culturally, and anything that we may have missed in some of the cultures that we talked about today.
All right. Awesome discussion, ladies. I learned a lot listening in on that. And as Avani mentioned, if you have anything to add around your own cultural traditions, feel free to comment on our Instagram post for this episode to start a discussion. You'll find us on Instagram at Beyond the Cosmic Table. Okay, so we'll be back next Tuesday with another conversation around the table. Be sure to tune in. Have a great week.